I'd like to ask you all to close your eyes and imagine that you're watching TV and the ad break comes on. You're looking at a small child with dark skin. The eyes are empty and the lips are unsmiling. The child is barely clothed and you see skin stretched over protruding bones. The surroundings are destitute. An educated European voice tells you the name of the child. It tells you that this child is in desperate need. And it tells you that with just €5 a month, you could save this child's life. Open your eyes, please, and raise your hand if you've seen an ad like this before. Pretty much everyone. So you know that it's made by organizations raising money for people in the global south. So that's countries in Central and South America, Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. That's the global south. And we talk a lot about whether these organizations are spending that money in an honest and responsible way. And that's great, because they represent a huge potential for change, and we shouldn't let that go to waste. But part of that potential is their ability to shape your understanding of the world. They permeate your lives by advertisements, on TV, in social media, and in magazines, and have become one of the main sources of information that we have on what is happening in the global south. So I'm here to talk to you today about a different type of responsibility, a different type of honesty. I'm here to tell you why throwing money at a starving child won't fix it. The type of ad that I described to you has been labeled by critics as a starving baby appeal. And it's based on the advice of a group of advertising specialists and psychologists. The idea is this: individual victims who are helpless and completely pitiful are the most effective. Shock and terrible images will get your attention. Then they make you feel sad and guilty, and you donate money. Too many details might overwhelm you, so it's best to keep things simple. Poverty is terrible, but development is easy. That's what the organizations behind these ads are thinking. But what are you thinking? My thesis research found that there's a pretty big difference, and I'd like to illustrate that for you today by sharing with you some of the comments made by my participants after I showed them a starving baby appeal. You see so many videos like that in the end, you don't pay any attention. You're shown a terrible situation, and it does shock you at first, but after a while, you've seen it all before, and these images lose their effect on you. You have kind of an impression that there is nothing happening in that country except for poor kids dying. Because you're shown very similar images again and again over many years, you start to believe that there is nothing in the global south apart from absolute poverty, and that no progress is being made. And that is a very negative stereotype. We do feel bad about it, but nobody actually realizes it when they see the video. What you're shown is so different to your day-to-day life that it's incredibly difficult to grasp the reality of the situation. You seem to have nothing in common with the starving child and its family. And because of that, you can sympathize, you can feel pity, but you cannot empathize. And empathy has been shown to be much more effective in getting people to act. But empathy requires common ground. And this ad draws a clear line between you, the donor, and them, the poor to be pitied and helped. If I were watching television, I would switch channels, I think, because it looks very depressing and deliberately made depressing. Some of you notice that you are being guilt-tripped, and we don't really like being manipulated like that. So we look away and never hear what can be done about the situation. It's also obviously their fault, to a certain degree, that they are still in poverty. They are not aided by how they are treated most of the time, but it's also not true that they are trying their hardest most of the time. This comment really shocked me. The idea that someone struggling to find enough food and water isn't trying hard enough shocks me. But it comes from naivety, not malice. And I believe it comes from a failure of these organizations to educate the public. The Starving Baby Appeal is all about simplicity, showing poverty, but not explaining it. And research shows that when you see an individual in poverty and you know nothing about the broader situation, your mind is more likely to jump to the conclusion that it must be their fault. So that's where simplicity gets you. Negative stereotyping, othering, and victim blaming. Given, of course, that you're even paying attention anymore. And isn't it terrible that we can be so desensitized to images of human suffering? Other human beings reduced to a quality of life that is unimaginable for you. And I wonder, if you or your family or your friends found yourselves in that situation, would you want your image to be broadcast to strangers around the world? To be exposed, desperate, half-naked, and distressed? Would you think it was worth it? For the donations that it might bring in? Or would you feel dehumanized? I can't answer that question for you, but I think it's fair to say that these organizations need to find new ways of getting your attention. Because the Starving Baby Appeal is not just damaging and ineffective, it is also misleading. The Starving Baby Appeal is centered on money. Poverty means having no money, so development means giving money, and effective advertising means getting money. And because of that message, those of you who do make a donation sit back and think that you've done your bit. The starving child is saved. But that's actually not quite how it works. Experts on poverty and development are telling us that poverty is not just a lack of money. Poverty is multidimensional. There are, of course, economic factors, but social and political factors are just as important, and the three exacerbate each other. There are a lot of strange things happening here. So, money can buy food and shelter for those in need. But that's addressing the symptoms of poverty. If we do not address the causes of poverty, those people will always be dependent on donations for their food and shelter, and their real quality of life won't have improved. Achieving an effective and sustainable development for the third world means addressing the structures that are preventing people from improving their lives. Again, there are economic factors. But even an economic factor, like unfair wages, for example, won't be fixed in the long run by sending money into those countries. And development also means tackling social factors, such as gender inequality and lack of education. and environmental factors such as droughts and poor soil quality. All of these things prevent people from improving their lives, and you cannot address just one issue at a time, because the success of each factor is dependent on the other two, and all three are dependent on good governance. Also environmental factors, although I'm not showing you that right now. The starving baby appeal hides all of this from you. And in my opinion, that is dishonest and irresponsible. I want these organizations to disconnect from the advice of advertising specialists who are pushing for simplicity, and instead to bring their ads in line with what experts on poverty and development are telling us. And I'd like to show you the advertisement which my participants unanimously decided was the most effective out of the 4 videos that I showed them. Oh, there we go. I'd like again to share with you some of the comments that my participants made after I showed them this video. There we go. It really shows that things can change for bad or good, but you can help to change them for good. They don't have to show us videos of them dying. They just had to show us that we have it so much better. That's the trick. This ad breaks the monotony of malnourished and sick children. Poverty isn't a fact. Things are changing, progress is being made, and you can contribute to that. I do want to be told the situation. Otherwise, it's just an appeal to pity. I don't want to spend money just because I feel bad for them. This ad tells you why children in the global south are in poverty and why they will struggle to get out of it. Climate change is causing crop failure, meaning that they don't have enough food or enough money for clean drinking water, and that is affecting their education. This is laid out for you very clearly, and you can no longer assume that maybe their poverty is their fault. They're showing that he's just like other kids living here, but with less means of water or food. I think that's also quite powerful. It kind of removes the us and them part. He's just like my little cousin. This video also paves the way for bridging the gap between ourselves and people in the Global South. And as I said earlier, that's crucial for developing empathy. Benford and Snow's framing theory tells us that calls to action are most effective when they resonate with your personal, everyday experiences. I doubt that many of you see starving children on a day-to-day basis. But children playing in the streets and going to school? More likely. And I'm sure that most of you have known a 9-year-old who wanted to be rich one day. Maybe a younger sibling or a child you babysat, or maybe even yourself. This ad draws us together while still showing us our differences. Having enough money to buy food and have some left over is a bare minimum for you, but the stuff of dreams for him. And for me, that's what makes this ad so incredible. It's emotionally engaging without showing you degrading images. It makes you want to act without making you feel guilty. And it highlights how different our opportunities are, while still showing us that really we are the same. These organizations have a huge monopoly on telling us about the Global South. So let's start holding them accountable for the messages they're sending us. The starving baby appeal is an irresponsible and dishonest form of advertising that needs to be left behind. I want these organizations to stop underestimating you, to stop giving you the simple story because they're worried about overwhelming you. Don't let them make you feel guilty, or make you think that if you don't have spare money lying around, you're of no use. I want more organizations to make you feel good about development. And I want them to work overtime to undo the damage of all the starving baby appeals that we've seen already. I want them to tell you what you can do to contribute to a sustainable and effective development for the Global South. To ask you to sign petitions, lobby your governments, and get these issues on the national agenda. Because only a combination of political action and monetary aid will bring about the structural change needed to truly overcome poverty in the Global South. So, find organizations that are honest and responsible spenders, but are also honest with you about what poverty and development means in the Global South and the challenge that lies ahead. Because simply throwing money at a starving child won't fix it. Thank you.